Hey guys, I'm wrthcrw, a professional Apex Legends coach who's worked with over 300 students across all skill levels, both casual and professional. In today's video, I talk about a lot of fighting instinct. This student felt very comfortable fighting a lot of the time, but has trouble pacing themselves and when figuring out when to go all in, play more passively, and playing in line with goals they identified in the game. We cover a lot of the finer details in fighting here, and it'll help anyone that is struggling to cross the threshold from good to great. If you guys enjoy the coaching content, be sure to subscribe and like the video. And if you want your own coaching session, check out the description below. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get in the video. Not fun.
Yeah. Okay. So like our teammates kind of identified this building as like a good place to take in zone. Right. So we went over here. And we noticed this team kind of rotating in on the right. I think I conned that they had a charged Senti and like took a big hit, so I like backed off to try and heal. Okay. And then, like I don't have their comms here, but like they started moving up. And I noticed in hindsight was that like we were able to like get the first knock here in this fight, but we weren't able to convert it into winning the fights.
Okay.
So at this stage, I'm kind of like looking left to make sure that no other team is coming.
Yeah.
They're one more smoking and coming up.
One pushing up to that house. Okay, I cracked one that's far away. Are they in the house? Kicking door. Flank them, please.
Okay.
Crack the other one.
And they're also just like running out of.
Oh yeah, you're gonna die here. Okay. So notably, the most important thing I see from you here is that you're comfortable fighting. That's really good to see starting off. I see a lot of players who would struggle in this situation to even get active or participate, but like you're in there fighting, right? One of the most important things that I talk about with kind of fighting fundamentals in general, you've seen like my fighting flowchart before, right?
Yeah, like
the info, plan, execute, reset, right?
Info, execute, reset.
Yeah. So that's good. The main thing here is that you need to have a good focus here. So they start pushing up. You Bloodhound ult. You're using your scans. All of your ability cooldowns are like fine. Like they're actually pretty solid. The number one thing here. So it is important to recognize that with Apex, it's a permadeath BR, right? Permadeath BR. There's no respawns. There's not really anything like that. If your team dies, it's over. And so we want to make sure that we avoid taking as many mistakes as possible. It's like even really small mistakes get you killed, right? The number one thing here is once you start fighting this here, this aggression is fine. The only thing that's bad here is that you and your teammate, your enemy and your teammate go bar for bar here. You're both equal in this fight. The reason, and then you looked off of here to aggress further and try and go harder, and you kind of, how do I put this? You kind of ignorantly swing to try and snowball harder, not really aware of the fact that your teammate dies here. Like your teammate dies, and I don't think you have any kind of response in to yourself. They're like, oh, my teammate died. You're just like, no, I'm killing these guys. I don't care. All right. Logically, what just happened here? So you've seen my oops, this is something completely different. I just leaked my Discord changes. Oh well. Someone can really read that if they want to. I don't care. Logically, what happens is there's the snowballs, right? What just happened is you created your team's. Actually, let me use different colors so it's easier to. You just created your own snowball for your team, like this, by getting off the first knock. But the thing is that they also created their own snowball like this, right? What happens here is that you guys are matching each other's snowballs here. What does that mean? It means that this is a concept called lethality, right? This is how scary someone is to you. This is how scary someone making a play. This is how scary, how much comeback chance there is for each other, right? Like, think about it. If you're in a 1v1 and you're both 1 HP, you're both really scared of each other, right? You're both trying to be like, fight me, right? It's kind of this back and forth. I wouldn't say it's RNG who wins, but like it can definitely feel like it, right?
It's like two red decks like just attacking, not blocking.
Yeah,
and,
but
like race.
yeah, exactly. That's a good way to look at it here, right? So what we're doing here is we're not only looking to build our own snowball, we're looking to also minimize the opponent's snowball, right? We're looking to see what we can do to actually start to minimize their impact, right? So here, when we talk about the info, plan, execute, reset, right? The number one thing you skip here is largely this step. On a micro level, let me go ahead and give this a rewatch real quick here.
Crack the other one.
Yeah, so my teammate Wombat on the roof gets knocked.
Their
teammate works is
and then you reload your gun. You don't heal at all, which is fine. You don't always need to heal every single time, right? But it has to be a conscious decision. I don't think this is a conscious decision. I think you're more so in Bloodhound going at this guy, which happens, which happens a lot in Bloodhound. Don't get me wrong. But here, if there's a better idea, you're kind of just shooting the opponents as they come to you, rather than actually dictating when you should or shouldn't fight people. If that makes sense. Because there's a wide variety of options for what you can do here. If you do decide that you want to fight this guy, I want to see you go in and fight that guy. I don't want to see you kind of half-ass it where you are right here, because what you're doing is basically this entire fight right here, even though it's relatively small, this is the guy who's deciding the whole fight here, right? You are the one that initiates on this guy, right? Because you kicked on the door, you're walking in here, you're going, I'm killing you. That's good. Here, you see this guy is kind of just like, oh, I dropped, I'm going back into cover. And then that guy decided the whole fight. You just punished him for it, right? We need to make sure that we are insisting urgency, or that we are the ones in control of the game's tempo overall. Because when we are the ones in control, we leave so much less to RNG. Because if we take responsibility into our own hands and we go, hey, we are doing this, right? But if you go, all right, I don't know what we're doing, we're kind of just going to react to whatever they do, that can be good, don't get me wrong. But this has to be done if you have a notion, or you do the core thing that I like to say is anticipation, right? If you anticipate that an enemy's going to do something, you'll see this in like do you watch pro play at all?
Yeah.
So you'll see that teams often play around other teams when they're anticipating what they do. A really good example is like an end game zone like this, like where it's like this, and then there's one team here, and then there's one team here, and then this team goes, all right, if this team starts to fight this team, then we start to push up on that, right? That we start to do something, or they're like, okay, we play in this spot, and we wait for somebody to fight, right? They're anticipating a certain result so they can capitalize and start to make plays off of it. That is anticipation. It can be specific, it can be general, but you're kind of just waiting for something to happen. You're kind of waiting for like just the opponent to get punished by you. You'll notice in certain situations, especially against really good players, they're not going to give you the opportunity to punish them, or at least what it feels like. It'll feel like overwhelming, because they will just shit on you, they'll shit on you, they'll shit on you, repeat, right? The opportunities for punishing them are a lot smaller, and it comes down to more like strategic overall gameplay, if that makes sense. Like starting to fight for things, how to actually fight for these things, how to knock somebody, stuff like that. And that's kind of what this whole flowchart is based around. It like your mechanical skill seems pretty solid, to be honest with you. Your decision making in these fights, or like how you engage them, is good. We just need to not tunnel vision on getting our own snowball, but instead trying to stop the opponent's snowball. Okay.
Okay.
A really good way to describe this would be to understand your obviously this is the whole snowball. How to build our snowball is our win condition, right? This comes down to the characters we have, the abilities we have, the positioning we have, all that stuff, right? But then, so what is the enemy snowball? This is our lose condition, right? This is how we lose the game. This is one of the things especially if you watch pro play in like really chaotic situations, or situations where they need to rotate very soon. You'll hear comms be like, "Don't die here, don't die here, don't die," because that is a lose condition, right? If you have to go to zone and it's zone 4 in 10 seconds, and you're like right on the zone, if you die here, you're dead. The team probably loses on the walk-in because you lose whatever utility you had. If your Bangalore dies right here, you guys are screwed, right? There's no ability to walk in. There's nothing. The whole all the kit is gone. So when you're fighting, it seems like you have a good grasp on win condition because you're making the swings, you're making the fights you need to do. It's just that we need to also understand our lose condition, and also when we are taking our win condition, we put it into our control, right? We want to be the one that exercises control. Okay, make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you have any questions about that at all?
Yeah, so I think here, like, Verx and I, like, progressed upon the in the room. And then we both took about 100 damage and killed the backboard. And what we should have done was, like, hold the inner part of that room.
You have...
Reset?
Yeah. You either reset or you confidently go and kill that guy. Either one of those two things. I would definitely say... I'm not going to really argue which play is better, because I want you to learn that through experience, because it doesn't really matter if I sit down and break down what play is better. It's more important that you figure that out through experience and have the kind of the don't half-ass something, you know. And like you do reset, because you can see here that you walk into cover here to reload your gun, and then you kind of swing back out and you're sitting in the open here. I'm not necessarily saying that this is a bad play. I'm more just saying that if you're gonna fight this guy, you need to fight this guy. You need to not kind of just sit here and shoot him. You need to go out there and swing this guy, because if you go bar for bar against this guy, you lose. Right?
I only started off with like 100 HP.
It's very. I think it's very, very easy to say, even in the situation, if you had god tier aim, if you one clip this guy, but you're still gonna take damage no matter what, right? Unless this guy whiffs really bad, but that is all accounted on the opponent being bad. And especially because I'm gonna be honest with you, you are on console. The 0.6 fucking hurts. I'm sure you had situations where you're aware of that. This can definitely. I think the average damage output of everybody is going to be a little bit higher here, and so even if you fight this guy, even if you go bar for bar and you knock this guy, you're still taking 100 damage here probably, right? Like 50 to 100 damage here. It's really easy for the last guy in your team to just knock you and then have a straight 1v1 against your teammate who's cracked here, right? Your teammate might get number swap, but even then, that 1v1's kind of dangerous, right? You want to fight the 2v1. You want to convert stuff together. And so especially if you're 3 stacking, a really important cue to look at here is if you are if you're in a situation where you are disadvantaged, you want to make sure that you try and convert to a kill immediately, right? You want to try, so like a 2v3, the first thing you need to do is play together and get a kill, right? You both need to hold the same angle. You both need to play the same way, so you guys can kill somebody on a certain angle. Here, it's not.
When you say kill, you mean like a knock, not necessarily like a full kill.
Yeah, like a knock. A full kill would be nice. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes having somebody knocked is better, because people will like just play around the res, right? And then you can just swing them when they res or something like that. So does all that make sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, no. I think one observation that I've got is that like when I 3 stack, I tend to play more aggressive and less cautious too. Like because I noticed that when I'm playing with like randoms, I spend a lot more time monitoring what they're doing.
Yeah, because you're like at a daycare.
Pardon?
You're at like a daycare when you're playing with randoms.
Yeah.
This is the idea of a safety net, by the way. I see that happen a lot, where people will talk about how they play really bad with people, but like they they solo queue and they do really well. I think it's because they don't really understand the idea of a safety net here. You play more aggressive because you're used to your teammates being able to follow up on your comms better and follow up on your plays more, which is okay. Don't get me wrong, but also we need to understand that our individual value, it can we can contribute so much to a team fight, right? Even if we don't 1v3, we can still output 400, 500, 600 damage in a fight, right? We just have this safety net that provides us some sort of cushioning if we make mistakes, right? The ultimate example of no safety net would be no fill trios, right? Because you have nothing. You're in the hardest situation at all points possible. If you die, it's over. There's no coming back from it at all, right? But even then, another example of a safety net would be playing, for example, like cover and stuff like that. We don't always want to fight everybody at all times possible, but sometimes we do need to remove the safety net and just like full swing somebody and fight them, right? Because the safety net doesn't matter if it rips and we fall right through and then die, right? If your teammates die, then you have no safety net anymore. But this is probably why you play a lot more aggressively when you're queuing with people. Focus instead when you're playing with people on your general uptime rather than your aggression. Okay, people usually conflate the two. Uptime is generally the idea that how active you are in a fight, right? Let's break down everything that influences uptime. We have armor, right? Obviously, the better armor you have, the more you can fight. Meds, obviously, again, popping bats, fashion cells, duh. Scopes, right? How far you can see, how far you can actually contribute in the fight. We can also equate this with range. If you're running like SMG PK, you can't contribute like at all to the close range, so your uptime is gonna be really heavily affected. We can also have my brain, armor, med, scopes, range, just mags. That was it. All right, all of this stuff ties into your uptime, and all of this is loot, right? Another really good way to affect your uptime is your HP in general, right? Because I just described HP in two ways here, right? It's either loot or your HP. And so if you never take damage on your 1v1s because you're like, you're swinging them, like you're going like behind them, they're not really able to inflict damage to you, you're always timing somebody, right? You never take damage, so you can always skip the HP reset or the HP heal of the reset phase. You still have to reload your gun, don't get me wrong, but then the reload of the gun can also be influenced by your scopes and range. It can also be influenced by your mags, right? And so your uptime should be especially when you're solo queuing, this is probably what you're looking for a lot more because your teammates are just bad. Teammates are always just so bad at this game. And so your uptime kind of needs to be the core thing when you are playing. It's all about our damage intake. It's all about how much damage we're outputting versus how much we're taking in, right? Does this make sense?
Yeah.
This is kind of the core reason that Conduit was really good for a while. Well, I don't think she was that good. She was good in certain niches and certain comps, but I think Raven was very outspoken to how he didn't want TSM to play Conduit because they were landing like Lightning Rod, right? And they have like Lightning Rod's like the best P1 in the game by like a mile. Car, really good loot, really good meds, or like everything you could ever want. So it's like Conduit helps influence uptime, but they already have good uptime because they already have all of this stuff, right? But Conduit, because she just skips the whole armor, she helps with meds, right? She helps the team be more active. I mean, especially you guys are playing Conduit here. If you're getting Conduit queued, you're popping a bat, you are missing the entire point of playing the character, right? And so a lot of characters that help supplement this or help supplement uptime can be really good for teams that need the help with something. So if you're landing like a bad POI, for example, in like comp, like landslide or something like that, where you don't have good loot, you could totally run a character that provides more uptime, like a Black Hand at LAN or like last LAN where they played their triple MK, they played Conduit or not Conduit, they played Catalyst, Watson, Bang, right? Watson helps supplement meds and it helps us supplement armors because she heals armor, and so it helps with her overall uptime. It also helps that she negates abilities and stuff like that, but it kind of ties all into this. So does this make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have questions about uptime at all?
I don't think so. I think it's just gonna take practice to value the uptime more than
The raw
just
damage.
pure action.
Yeah. The best way to influence uptime outside of, you know, the raw where you land is all about your damage intake. Try not take too much damage, but obviously don't be afraid to take damage, because sometimes it's really good. Because if you take 100 damage but you knock somebody, all you gotta do is bat. But sometimes you can't bat. I've had situations where students will literally one clip 2 out of 3 people, and they're like, "What could I have done better in that fight?" And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you, fight them earlier, or like not be in a situation where you have to one clip all 3, you know, and that and all ties into general uptime. Bloodhound is a character that's kind of struggles to have uptime in some situations. It kind of depends on the comp and what you're playing. Do you mostly play Bloodhound, or do you like flex to like Fragger? Kind of like, what do you play?
I used to play a lot more Valk and Horizon, but this season, friends have kind of. I've been playing more Bloodhound.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. But you're very much like a Fragger kind of role, right?
I would say with the people that I play with, I am probably the most aggressive and most forward person.
Yeah, that's fine. It kind of comes down to, for example, on Bloodhound, there's this comp that or like, I've had situations where, especially when like I'm coaching teams, I want the anchor player to run something like double AR, right? I'm sure you've seen double AR and how powerful it can be, but especially because the person in the back has this whole role is compiled mostly of uptime, how much they can actually contribute to the fight and how often they can contribute to the fight. Double AR is really good because this is the let out with the highest uptime, right? But you can keep shooting your gun and keep shooting your gun and keep shooting your gun, and the reloads aren't that bad. It's the only reason why LMGs aren't really good for uptime, because they have a lot of uptime and then a lot of downtime when they reload, right? But ARs are a really good mix of maximizing uptime while minimizing downtime.
Highest damage per mag. Yeah.
Exactly, right. And so for example, the Bloodhound won't last 30 seconds, right? Well, how can we make the 30 seconds or whatever last as long as possible? Obviously by knocking people, but if we just keep shooting for 30 seconds straight, we're set, right? We can go crazy. So there was the idea for a while that the anchor player plays Bloodhound, because the anchor player is going to run double AR, your Bangalore smokes them, your Bloodhound shooting double AR through smokes, which is ridiculous, by the way. Double AR through, like, 100 feet away through smokes, you're knocking people, like, they can't do anything, right? And so this is something I kind of want you to try and be conscientious about with your weapon letouts, the way you fight, the way you start approaching things, right? Okay.
Yeah, I generally run, like, AR primary, and then Flatline or Havoc or Volt secondary.
Yeah. When you're playing more up close like this, you need the only thing that ARs suffer in is they suffer overall in average DPS. Like, sure, they have the highest damage per mag, but they can't output the damage as fast as like an SMG can. So you need to like have like a very phase-based positioning with the way you play. You need to kind of poke, kind of get a crack, and then you full swing the guy, unless the guy's in a bad position, in which case you full swing the guy with like your teammate, you know, something like that. Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the next clip here. Okay, so yeah, it's one of those games where you excuse me, it's one of those games where you walk around the map and just loot. so you're in end game with Wingman, Hemlock, purple armor, red armor, Horizon, Caustic Blood. Yeah, okay, this is So these fights should be really clean in your favor. That's what you're trying to aim for here. Do you win this game? Oh, you do. Okay.
You do. I wouldn't say the fights are that clean.
Okay, that's fine.
So my teammate identifies.
Yeah, we need to shoot these.
This is a possibility of hold. I scan. The truck's empty.
This truck is ass to hold. The only reason it's really good is that there's so many other places that are taking. Like, it's not the worst spot, don't get me wrong, but it's not a good one. So the team just took your old building. This one's swinging you. Okay.
90 on. No, that was a Horizon. There's a team in our old building.
This team is soaking all their util, not doing anything with it. That's awesome.
They're running. Knocked.
Small thing here. Use the wingman. There's no reason to not use the wingman. Just use the wingman. It's like you did it earlier here. and it was the first thing I was looking for here earlier when they fought you here. I was like, please use the wingman, please use the wingman, and then you did, and then I'm watching you here, and then you're using the hemlock here. Just use the wingman. It's like it's better than a Kraber. To be 100% honest with you. And the team is just stupid and walks out.
Yeah, it is my favorite gun, especially on Bloodhound mode, but on controller, like sometimes you just don't pull out the right weapon right away.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, just like go for it.
Yeah, even if it's worth the downtime of you messing up, like of you messing up and not like pulling out the right gun so you swap, it's still worth it because your lethality is like 10 times higher.
So like what happened here was like once I got the knock-on advantage, I basically like streamed like, okay, we just like kill this team so we have our backs free.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a fine call. That's a good call. You should fucking murder this team, right? So what do you think the problem here is?
Well, I popped Bloodhound out in the open.
Yeah. A good rule of thumb for managing your uptime in general: if you can shoot your gun, shoot your gun. If you can't shoot your gun, that's where we use non-traditional methods of doing damage. So, for example, by traditional we mean gunplay, right? By non-traditional we mean abilities, grenades, all that other fun, fancy stuff in Apex, right? And so, if the enemy can see you, they're gonna shoot you, like right? You should try and use a lot of your non-traditional gameplay methods behind cover, because no matter what, even if you are a god dodger, I'm sure you know how much I'm into strafe and dodge and all that stuff. Even if you're a god dodger here and you go and you hit them with the left, right, fucking like backwards, diagonal, like strafe, whatever here, I don't care. How much damage do you take behind cover? 0. How much damage do you take dodging? You don't really know, right? Like you could get fried, you could dodge everything. Right. There's obviously a certain impact that dodge will have on it, but like, why not just make the number 0, right? By staying in cover, you want to pop Bloodhound and then swing. It's a very minor thing, but these small mistakes get you killed, and they translate to you losing the game overall. It talks like kind of whole permadeath.
I think like I knew I wanted to pop Bloodhound when I got the knock, but then also like the fuse swung the knuckle clustered in there, and so I think like, okay, I guess I should like walk over to avoid it, and then somehow adding the two together resulted in me popping Bloodhound.
Yeah, I kind of understand. It looks to me the number one thing is that you get you get too anxious in a good way to do a lot, right?
Yeah.
You try and have the most impact possible, but sometimes the most impact possible is just making sure you don't take damage. It's kind of like the number one thing I want you to focus on.
Yeah, I think I try to like make sure that our team's like snowball happens as quickly as possible.
Forcing yourself to play fast. It's a whole risk. So if it's better to play fast, then it's not a risk. But like forcing yourself to always play fast, there's always going to be mistakes like these where one person is going to just take a trillion million damage, right? And they're just gonna blow up. Like in the last 2 fights, your teammate, like the enemy team that was pushing the building, they were the one to set the tempo. In ratting here, you guys tried to set the tempo. The enemy team kind of caught you off. They kind of caught you. I think both of you guys were off guard. They ended up just killing one of you guys, so the tempo wasn't really set by either of you guys. It was kind of just you both were shooting each other with guns. There's not really someone was taking charge. By the time you tried to take charge, it was way too late, and you also didn't really do it in the best way possible here. And then here, you're trying to set the tempo, and you kind of are just out in the open. You take way too much damage. Your strafe range here is really bad, so you just kind of walk at them, and they just and you just die here. No matter how fast you are, it doesn't matter because you're walking at them, right? So, even as a baseline, focus on making sure you're not getting too ahead of yourself. Follow the steps one at a time. Make sure here that when you are just follow the. If I can shoot them, I will. If they can shoot me, they will. If I need to do something that lets me not. If I need to do something that affects my DPS output, so pop a bat, use an ability, even scan to a micro extent, because every piece of damage we're talking about matters, right? Like if you're walking into zone and zone's on your ass right now, and it's zone 4, and you can't take any damage from it, if you scan while not behind a box and someone shoots you for 40 damage for free, that 40 damage could literally kill you, right? We have to make sure that we're always able to trade back and forth, because if you take 40 damage but you deal 40 damage, that fight's a lot. That, like, again, the equal snowball, right? You're not just giving up snowball for free. If when it comes to just make sure that if your DPS is lower, or it's or 0. If it's 0 or lower, or lower or 0, there we go. If it's lower or 0, make sure that your intake is going to be affected correspondingly. Okay, you'll see like you'll see like MNK players do this, where like they will like slide jump and do like a tap strafe like in a circle around like when they're reloading. But you'll see, but you basically see nobody ever do that in a fight, right? And this is because this focuses on maximum dodge. Well, at least that's their thought process behind it. It's not great, don't get me wrong, but like the thought is fine. They want to focus on dodging more than anything because they can't do damage because they're reloading their gun or something, right? I kind of want you to focus on the same thing. If you can't shoot your gun for one reason or another, don't be fighting them, okay? Make sense?
Yeah, I think like too focused on like the pure damage number that I'm doing rather than like the delta between the damage of that I'm doing versus what I'm taking.
Exactly. And that's so much more important because everybody, like, there's so many players that like focus so much on aim and they're like, my mechanics, I have to aim at the aim, but like they crumble in a fight. Like they will do 600 damage or do 100 and die because they try to take like an egregious swing or something like that. This is what makes teams be able to drop, especially in like comp. I know you don't play comp, but like you watch a good bit of it. This is kind of what lets teams fight 6 teams back to back to back. They just never die because they always focus on their intake rather than their output. They trust that their output's going to be enough that they can follow up on it. And from watching you, your mechanics are solid enough that I would say you can definitely trust your own mechanics. You just have to make sure that you're working smarter, not harder. Okay. You have enough resources from the way that you approach the early game, and you guys aren't in like super sweaty lobbies. Like there's like plenty of teams alive in like an end game here, but like I'm sure you've had the games where there's like 14 teams alive in the zone or something like that, and it's hell, right? It's hell to be able to try and do anything.
Right.
You will get punished in those lobbies a lot more because you're not gonna have the opportunity to like walk around and get like resources all the time. You're gonna be like fighting a lot more. But you've already taken all the steps in the early game to get loot here, and so you don't need to take any of these fights because of the way the zone's structured and the way that like these players play. You guys probably could take some of these fights just for more KP, but if it doesn't really mesh with like the playstyle of your teammates, that's fine. You play right.
So here, I guess we're gonna like play right here.
This is a good spot to play. Yeah. The only thing to worry about, I was literally gonna say, the only thing you have to worry about is getting flushed out right here, and it looks like that's exactly what's happening here. Oh, I wish you
here,
did
the opposite. I think I'm just trying to find an opportunity to bloodhound up to like hold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I do.
Okay, that guy was literally 1 HP. You should kill this guy. Yes, swing this guy. Yes. Yeah. This kind of, so here are a couple things. One, so you take the space here. You're fighting here. Was it right here? Are you popping a battery, or was it no? That was later. Right here. You should have naded the opposite side here, so no one can push you, or like they can't like exist there for free and shoot you. Like you just throw in I know your teammate's holding it, but like what's better than them dropping into a nade into your teammate who's holding it, right?
Yeah.
Even if the nade gets no value, it still serves an important purpose. That it blocks them off. Like the value here can literally be invisible. You could literally like, oh, I did no damage, but it would still serve a purpose, right? And that's fine. I wouldn't say throw both grenades, but you know, at least throw one. And then here, when you are in a situation where you kind of need to fight, I think it's because of the way that it might be influenced by the way your teammates play here, where they're kind of more passive. They kind of want to play more zone more, and that's fine. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way I play. But if you guys have to fight, you guys have to fight. It's in a zone-based. Do you know the reason that zone teams don't really fight each other too much?
Because if you do, like, you get third party.
Yeah, because it's center zone, right? There's so many angles and places you get from that. Like an edge team's gonna walk in and try and kill you.
There's just
guys,
like space in between the teams to reset.
Exactly, right. And so you guys are on edge collapse here, and the team in zone is trying to fight you guys, and the team on edge is walking into you guys as well, right? So realistically, you guys are in a 3v6 here. I think you might not realize that specifically, but you realize that you guys are kind of sandwiched here, right? By the way that these teams are playing here, and so I want you to make sure, especially that if you guys are stuck fighting somewhere, or you guys are like have to fight, don't be afraid to fight, right?
Like, we need to clean up the fight as quickly as possible.
Yeah, you need to like with this guy in the back here, you have to swing this guy. You have to fight this guy. Instead, what you do is you kind of sit, you kind of like play the middle of the threshold here and don't really like go into this guy. You kind of just stay where you are and kind of just hold like AD, and then you get shot on the cross here, right? What I'm doing here is that you have a couple seconds here where you can confidently go in and kill this guy. Like I said on the first VOD, where I was like, I'm not really arguing the should you swing this guy or should you go back and reset after throwing a grenade here, right? I'm not arguing which play is the best here. Right? Yeah. It's just that if you decide here that swinging this guy and killing this guy is the play, that is fine. But it just has to be done because you're either trying to hold this guy out with your gun, or again, this zone's gonna close on this guy. You just nade here, make him wait. Oh, zone's gonna close on him. Well, he's forced to come into you while taking damage. He's gonna walk one direction. He can't back off. He's forced to try and like go like nuclear on you, right? But if you're going to fight somebody, fight them, swing them. Don't kind of like half-ass it, okay?
Yeah, and especially like right here, I'm kind of like blocking my teammate's sightline to like shoot the same person a lot.
Yeah,
as like Bloodhound with the higher movement speed, I should probably just swing wider so that I kind of corner them.
It's actually really important in the whole fighting economy to make sure that if you are swinging, let me go ahead and draw like a corner here, right? So let's say we have like a door right here, and we have an enemy that's like hugging that's hugging the threshold like this, right? If the first person to swings out like this, if you want help, which is typically like you should be taking like 2v1s like this, right? The person that swings second has to swing out further, right? But this person's gonna be shooting second anyway. This person is going to be contributing to the fight last. They don't need the extra time of having to swing out and slide jump out to fight this guy, right? Realistically, it should usually be the first person to swing out. Should be the person with speed boost or some form of mobility, because they can afford to get back here quicker, right? This will typically be Bangalore, right? Because Bang has double time. She'll be like, oh, kill this guy, and then the Bang will swing out, whatever, right? But it's not always, because you are playing Blood, and Blood ult, especially being like we need to kill this guy, is really strong because the static speed boost from Bloodhound ult is insane. It's really good, right? And so your teammate swings closer, especially because if you're the first person calling it, again, your teammates have to catch up. They have to figure out where you are. And so if you're playing like this guy's pinched on 2 angles, especially because this guy's in a corner like this. Playing these angles right here makes this guy stuck, right? This guy can't move or dodge or anything. So all you have to do is get at an angle like this. By the way, this is called the 45-degree angle. This is the best way. This is the second best way to be lethal. The best way to be lethal would be right here, while your teammate's right here, right? But obviously you can't go all the way out here right now. That's unrealistic to say. The 45, just go walk in zone and swing this guy. But the 45-degree angle is a really good mixture of in between the 90-degree angle, which is to this guy's side. That's percent, not there. You go. The 90-degree angle and the 0-degree angle, right? It's the 45 is like the most common, or the most commonly established way to punish somebody like this. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Your issues, especially for like how quote unquote little you play, it's not your mechanics at all. Your mechanics are actually pretty solid. You shoot your gun well. It's not going to be aim. It's mostly going to be this decision making that's going to get you killed more than anything. Okay.
Thanks so much for your time. That was,
no problem. Do you have any questions on anything?
I don't think I have any questions right now. Follow up with you.
Okay. Here we go.